Well, I wanted to just wrap up my rant. I guess it's something that extended beyond uh, the first two videos that I did. That I wanted to keep them short. Actually, the first one got cut off by accident, and then the second one I also just kept short, beneath the 10-minute mark, because I thought it would maybe it would be more palatable that way. But the ranting that I was doing was about QAnon and about the essentially the fact that people were duped. A lot of good people, a lot of people who I don't think are stupid, who I don't think are credulous or dopey, and I'm not making fun of people or trying to embarrass anybody by talking about any of these things. Um, I do think that, you know, this was something that was very powerful and it had a very powerful hold on a lot of people. It still does. I understand it continues to this day. There are still unreconstructed QAnon people out there who think that there's still a plan, that we still have to trust in the plan. I don't know exactly how they make it all work, but I know they're out there. But I don't think that's the case for most of them. I think if I had to hazard a guess, there are a lot of really disillusioned people who, up until just a few days ago, just a week ago, maybe, were still believers, still thought that this was all going to turn around, and that there would be mass arrests, and that all of these awful people were going to be rounded up and uh, taken to military tribunals. Seem to play a huge role in the QAnon movement. I don't know. Is that really how you lawfully dispatch these kinds of people who've committed these kinds of crimes? I'm not saying I wouldn't. I'm not saying I would care if a bunch of freaking pedos were summarily executed. I'm not saying I would have any niceties about or have any qualms or uh, uh, feel that oh no, this is really bad that these pedos are being these people who were untouchable are now being led away and summarily executed by after being given a short trial in a military court. Um, if it were to actually happen, I wouldn't I wouldn't find it to be a travesty. Although technically, I guess I am a believer in the Constitution. But there you go. But anyway, it didn't happen. And I just want to wrap up these thoughts about QAnon and what all happened, what really was going down with QAnon. Um, and I've talked about the constantly saying that the storm is coming, the storm is coming, the storm is here. Well, it's not here, but it's here as in soon here. And the fact that hope deferred maketh the heart sick. Uh, and that's what whoever was behind this whole thing, that's what they were doing to people. They were making people's hearts sick because people were, expecting stuff to happen, and it never did. Um, and I wanted to just talk about a couple things that seem to happen, that seem to take place during this time period. There suddenly became, I remember this thing where adrenochrome was the buzzword. It was all about adrenochrome. It was suddenly believed by everyone, uh, that the means by which this exploitation took place was through this awful kind of practice in which children were tortured, uh, and then once they were terribly frightened, their blood was extracted, and their blood was when they were, in this tortured state, their extracted blood was was consumed, and in that state, it had an advanced level of this chemical called adrenochrome, and so all of these celebrity pedos were addicted to adrenochrome, and that was why we were actually told during the uh, heavier months of the lockdown, March, April, May, uh, that these celebrities were all looking rough because they were being denied adrenochrome, and that was why we were supposed to trust the plan, because the lockdown was part of the plan. It was all a smokescreen, the talk of this virus and quarantining and all that stuff. That was just a smokescreen. It was really about uh, putting the plan forward. And so I just thought it was peculiar how adrenochrome became the staple upon which this entire uh, the entire notion of high echelon child abuse, child trafficking, uh, atrocities committed against children. It all hinged on this notion of adrenochrome. It was suddenly like, especially in the Q crowd, it was like you were nobody if you didn't uh, think that it was all about the extraction of adrenochrome through torture. Now, um, I I've said before, I think high level child trafficking and child sexual abuse is very real, all too real, and I don't. I wish it were not so, but I came to the grim realization that it was real quite a while ago, and nothing has happened to change my mind on that front. But and maybe probably there's some awful rituals happening. Um, um, maybe it's not just garden variety child sexual exploitation. That's not bad enough, but maybe there's actual ritualistic, what they call SRA, satanic ritual abuse, and certainly there's been MK Ultra related experimentation on children. Um, that's been happening for. Uh, I mean, it, there is mainstream evidence of that having taken place, um, and and then it all went dark, and it was supposedly over with, but I mean, it probably never ended. I'm sure it never ended. And I mean, even in shows like Stranger Things, and it was openly it was openly shown there, openly portrayed. Again, as a kind of revelation of the method. But anyway, during the Q stuff, when the Q op was really running hard, it became all about adrenochrome. And it was like, oh, these celebrities, they're being starved of their adrenochrome because Trump is, and the white hats and Q and everybody are the masterminds, and they're the ones who are seeing to it that these awful people are being deprived this of their sustenance, and that's why they're all looking so rough, and that's why Madonna in her taking a rose bath and talking about babbling on as she's lying in her tub, and all of these videos that the celebrities took of themselves singing Imagine or whatever, doing all their stupid, crappy videos that displayed just how out of touch they were. Uh, it was just being theorized. It was all part of the TikTok. It's all going down. Uh, they're not getting their adrenochrome. Their supply of children, and being able to torture children and extract their blood and drink their blood when it's charged with this chemical of adrenochrome. That's all coming to an end now. And I just and again, I could name names, I guess. I can't remember the guy's name right now. There was that one dubious character, who was talking about how children were being transported to Mars and being tortured on Mars. What was his name? Gosh, was it Robert Davis Steele? Uh, and there were others. There were others who were just like who kept saying, I have a connection. I know somebody within this. It's like you would hear, and I guess a lot of these people were just dupes. They were some of them were well-meaning people. I mean, I think some of them were probably not well-meaning. Some of them were uh, uh, actively doing the duping. But when Pizzagate broke, yeah, I recall that there was initially an article at Vigilant Citizen about Pizzagate. A detailed article about it, and then that article vanished. It was gone with no explanation. It was just gone. And this was at Vigilant Citizen. This is not a site where they pull any punches about the satanic elite. That's what they're all about. That's and I visit the site quite frequently myself, and think that they expose a lot of truth there. Frankly, I was a skeptic not very long ago, like just a few years ago, but now definitely not. But that was strange how the Pizzagate story became radioactive, and Milo was going to talk about it. I remember he, like, again in 2017, he gave some interview where he said I was going to go and give a talk. I was going to speak to an audience and mention what's going on with Pizzagate. And then I got a call from Washington, D.C., and they told me to hold off on it. Who? So and so then he said, "Oh, I'm not. So I'm not going to talk about it after all." So who was it who got to Vigilant Citizen, and who was it who got to Milo Yiannopoulos, uh, and told them, to pull their punches? I'm I'm thinking that it could very likely have been these, these people posing as the white hats. It could very likely have been people saying, because uh, I don't know if the video is still out there, but I remember the one with the video that involved Milo, where he said something like, just that he was told to just hold off on this for now. Um, and it was like, now's not the time to emphasize this, but believe me, we are working on this, and it's all going to come out. But for now, let's just keep it under wraps. And so they talked him into it. You know, uh, that's the impression that I get in retrospect with Milo. Um, And with as far as vigilant citizen, I just don't even know. But what I do know is they had an article that was about Pizzagate, and then it was gone. It disappeared. So that was strange. And uh, Pizzagate became this byword for, these bunch of crazy people who believe all these things are happening, and Pizzagate was supposedly debunked. But again, the whole notion of it being debunked was just people writing news articles, supposedly quote unquote news articles, saying they say that this is happening, but it's not really happening. That was it. That's debunking. That's your idea of debunking. I mean, that's not anything. That's just making a declaration that what so and so over there is saying with some evidence to support it just isn't true. But let's not even look at the evidence. They don't show you the evidence. They don't talk about the evidence. They never do that. Okay, and so Pizzagate became QAnon. Um, it was subsumed under the heading of QAnon, and so it seemed like the people aware of, who were hip to Pizzagate, and more broadly speaking, what I call pedogate, it all of that got kicked under the rubric of QAnon, and so there was this merger that happened, and I can't help but think that maybe it was the pre-QAnon psyop, whoever was behind the QAnon psyop, uh, that maybe it was somebody affiliated with them who got to Milo and who got to Vigilant Citizen, and who knows how many other people, and so it was like they took all of this stuff. There was this real energy and awareness regarding these subjects back in late 2016, early 2017, around the time when I wrote Meta Pizzagate, my own take on this subject. And sometime after that, I guess between early to mid to late 2017, QAnon emerged. Q emerged onto the scene, and it was like everything. It was like suddenly you couldn't really be a a pedogate whistleblower or a pedogate acknowledger without getting steered towards this QAnon thing. And whoever, I mean, I'm interested in hearing any ideas of whoever, like if anybody knows the mastermind behind QAnon. I'm all ears. I'm quite interested to know, and I guess I'm going well past the 10-minute mark this time around. But I'm interested to know who it could have been, and why you would say it's this person or that person. I know there were a lot of people there were a lot of spokesmen, and there were people in, what do we call them, pundits or independent researchers, or types of people. It was like, even that movie Out of the Shadows, which I applauded the making of. I remember when I saw it, I thought, yeah, there's a lot of truth here. This is great that it's being made and being watched by millions of people. But at the same time, very QAnon. It was very pro-Trump. It was very, trust the plan. It was just, you know, and uh, featured spokesmen who were very, very much, saying Trump is in the process of uncovering all of this, and whoever was behind all of this is evil, because they knowingly took an issue that is real, that is desperate to be uh, uncovered, that is crying out for justice to be done. They took this issue that they knew people were invested in, well-meaning people were invested in, and they cynically made it into a political football. They cynically fashioned it into this 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 movement in which the good guys were the president and his I don't know, his connections, that it was him and his people who were going to bring all of this stuff to the light. So instead of it being instead of high level child trafficking, child exploitation, uh, child sexual abuse, instead of those things being nonpartisan, it became partisan. It became if if you're against this stuff, then come on, you need to rally behind Trump, and the because all the pedos are Democrats or rhinos, Republicans in name only, or never Trumpers. They're the ones who are the pedos. Uh, but in fact, uh, this this awful thing, this awful phenomenon, it knows no political affiliation, and that's one thing I will say as I bring my thoughts to a close here. That's one thing I will say in support of David Icke. Though I know there are people who are suspicious of him, and I know when I spoke to Jason Horsley, he had his own suspicions of David Icke. Maybe not being totally on the level, but I do remember that David Icke was not on the Trump train ever. He was never someone who said Trump is different. He thought that Trump was just another one of them, and I'm inclined to agree. Uh, you know, we're talking about somebody who was within the power structure for years and years and years, and was a celebrity and was a mogul, was a very high profile person. Uh, Yet he was it was suggested to us in just this brazen bit of, dare I call it, chutzpah. I know that adds a new connotation to things, but I can't think of a better word than chutzpah. You know, to take this obviously sleazy guy with this very checkered history, uh, you know, and you know, uh, and say, here's your savior, here's your righteous man, here's the guy who will free you from all of these disgusting perverts. Never mind that he kind of has the aura of a disgusting pervert himself. Don't pay attention to that. now. You could pay attention to that before, maybe in 2013 when you saw him on The Apprentice, and you could have thought, "Ooh, he seems." I mean, yeah, he's funny and he's a character, and you can enjoy him on that level, but he kind of seems a little gross. you know? But in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, no, we must not think of him that way. This man with this terrible hairdo and this this demeanor this demeanor of constant braggadocio and constant self promotion. Um, you know, no, he's the savior. He's selflessly going to uh, gonna get all these great things done. Like again, and of course, again, people hated him. People hated him unduly. People stopped seeing him. I mean, it worked both ways. You know, the Trump haters were a big reason that I held my tongue about Trump, is because his haters were so much more disgusting and appalling than he was. But that was saying a lot. That was really saying a lot, because he was never somebody who struck me as a really a palatable uh, guy, as far as his personality, as far as his temperament, as far as you know, here's somebody we can trust. But they sold him to us, and to one extent or another, we bought it. And people like me, I held my tongue. Uh, I wasn't a true believer, but I held my tongue about him. Uh, so I guess I'll just wrap it up on that note, that whoever was behind QAnon is, if he's not, if he or she is not just another high level elite pedo or pedo apologist, it's someone who knows about all these things happening and is consciously exploiting it and getting people and got people, duped people, duped good, well-meaning people who wanted and who want these terrible crimes to end. Q ultimately ended up using these people, and there's something just really brazenly appalling about that. Even if that person, even if that person isn't himself one of the sick ones who does these terrible things. Nevertheless, he's using this. He's using these crimes. He was using these crimes as a way to again manipulate people into taking sides, into manipulating people into partisanship, manipulating people into playing the game, becoming invested in politics, in American politics, instead of thinking that it's beyond the pale, which it is. It is beyond the pale. It's evil, and it needs to be destroyed. Now, I'm not saying, that's not me saying we should go out and destroy it. I mean, I'm saying it needs to come down. It needs to be brought down. And maybe the fact that it hasn't been brought down is, maybe Taylor Marshall and others who say it's because of our sin. Maybe they're right. Maybe it's our punishment for tolerating all the evil that we've tolerated, is that we've been given into the hands of our enemies, and our enemies are us. Our enemies are our supposed quote unquote elected representatives, and those who lead them around by the nose. The powerful and influential lobbyists of various stripes. So, thus concludes my tripartite rant about QAnon in this post-Trump era. And I think that brings all my thoughts to a close on this subject. If anything else occurs to me, I will come back to it. But thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for considering what I have to say. And talk to y'all soon.